I Saw a Demon When I Was a Little Girl by User My Sanctuary. This is what I believe to be a true story. Believe it or not, it's your choice, but consider this story a warning. My story does involve some dark supernatural presences, and so I labeled it NSFW on Reddit just to be safe. This story is very hard to tell, as it left long-lasting trauma that affects me even today. When I was about 5 or 6 years old at the time, and my younger brother was just barely 2, my mom used to go hunting for ghosts with a group of other women around my area. She would get together with them over the weekend, pile into her SUV and go to places like graveyards or abandoned hospitals to find supernatural activity. I don't exactly remember where she went when she accidentally picked this thing up. Allow me to back up for a moment in order to picture our basement at the time. This is important to my story. During the day, the basement was cozy. It was bright and cheery. My dad had a computer desk set up in the back corner. He would play video games on his computer. After my younger brother and I took interest in his gaming hobby, he set up a projector so we could watch him play. My mom set up blanket forts using 2 old floral print couches my great-grandma gave to her. We had a play area in the center of the basement. It was a safe place during the day. But at night it would come out of the closet under the basement stairs. It would begin suddenly, stomping up and down the stairs repeatedly. We could all hear it upstairs. I was a light sleeper when I was younger, and I would hear my mom get up in the middle of the night and order it to stop. As soon as she acknowledged its presence, things escalated. The stomping got louder, and it shook the house. My mom stopped bothering to get it to stop. Without her asserting her power over it, it took more and more liberties within the house. Here are a few instances. At times, I'd wake up to a presence in my room. It was suffocating, almost like something heavy was sitting on my feet, tapping on the bed with what felt like long fingernails. 3 times. Tap, tap, tap. It was breathing. The longer I laid there, the louder the breathing got. I did my best to stay still. I never once opened my eyes to find out what it was that sat on me. And after seeing what I saw in the basement a few nights later, I don't think I want to know. I told my mom the next morning what happened, and she gave me a stern look. I told it to go away. It should leave you alone now, I remember her mumbling. She sat there for a moment in silence before getting up and wandering into the bedroom to look around. I did not follow her inside. A few other occurrences happened around the house. Before my mom accidentally brought it in, we had a lot of ladybugs in the house. I don't know why they were there, nor how they got there, but we would find them flying about or sitting on top of surfaces in groups of 7 normally. But after it was let inside, we would often find clusters of ladybug carcasses laying around. Dozens of them, with no reasonable cause. My mom kept the windows open in small cracks so they could get out of the house. They weren't trapped inside. Something was killing them. Occurrences got worse as the week went on. One night, I got up from my bed to get some water. I have no idea why I was thirsty. While I was a light sleeper, I normally didn't get up in the middle of the night at all. As I made my way downstairs with my little Blue's Clues water cup, I heard it. 3 harsh taps on the floor downstairs. My heart spiked in my chest, my blood growing cold with absolute terror. I squeezed my eyes shut and continued on my way to the kitchen. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see it. I groped around blindly for the kitchen light, and I opened my eyes only when I found the switch. I stood there in the warm light of the kitchen, shivering intensely. I gripped tightly to the cup in my hands, my fingernails digging into the soft plastic. I remember calling out for my mom. She was the only person I could think of. And I remembered the silence, how loud it was, how crushing it was. I don't remember how long I stood there in the kitchen by myself. Tap, tap, tap. Distantly. I dropped my cup in fear. The blue plastic crashed loudly against the tile, and it made my ears ring. I flinched so hard, my body ceased for a few moments. Out of the corner of my eye, the basement door slowly swung open. Tap, tap, tap. Downstairs, a bit further away this time. I held my breath, gripping the hem of my pajama shirt. Tap, tap, tap. Closer this time. Tap, tap, tap. I jumped, twisting my shirt in my hands. I pressed my lips tightly together as I left the kitchen, making my way to the basement door. I wanted to close the door. I didn't want to see it. I did not want to see it. I inched closer to the door. Visceral fear climbed up my spine as I realized why this thing was tapping. It was trying to get my attention. It wanted me to look at it. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. As I reached for the doorknob. Bang! I jumped, and because I did, I opened my eyes. Standing at the bottom of the stairs was a dark figure. It was tall enough to brush the ceiling, but it was hunched over, so its shoulders were touching. Its head bowed. It had long, broken, twisted horns, and its eyes, they're burned into my memories. It's been about 15 years, and I still remember them clear as day. They were huge and bright yellow, almost glowing in the darkness, but somehow lacking light entirely. Its pupils were square, like a goat's, and burning bright orange with... At the time I thought it was anger. But as I recall this memory, I now realize that it wasn't exactly anger that was burning in that thing's eyes. It was sick excitement. Pure, unbridled, sadistic glee that it finally got me to look at it. That it warmed its way into my psyche. I remember turning and running as soon as I saw it. And I remember that it laughed in my ears and chased after me up the basement stairs as I cried. That next morning, it got to my brother too. My mom awoke to hear him screaming in fear. My brother never cried for any reason when he was a baby. He would whine or huff, but never cry. He was wailing, terrified and hurting. I got here first, my mom at my heels. She picked him up and inspected him. I froze in horror as she held up his little arm. There was an angry red hand-shaped welt on his arm. My mom then realized what had been done. She had accidentally let the demon into the house during one of her ghost hunting trips. It had physically harmed my kid brother and emotionally traumatized me. She scooped up her Bible that afternoon and forcefully removed the demon from the house. To this day, I cannot go up a flight of stairs in the dark without a light source, and when I do, I always have an animalistic fear deep in my gut that something is behind me when there is most definitely nothing there. Sometimes I feel an intense feeling of fear during the day for absolutely no reason. And I'm confident it's that thing that I saw when I was small, trying to get back in, trying to hurt me again. But my spiritualism keeps it away. I don't blame my mother for what happened to me or my brother. It wasn't her fault. She was doing something she thought was interesting and failed to see the consequences of doing so. She still does her best to make it up to me to this day. And if you're thinking about going someplace abandoned, stop and think about the consequences, what you might bring home, especially if you have children.